All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Before the Cut.
Yes, sir.
We are back with another tattoo artist. We have Brandon Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. Brandon is based out of Reverent Tattoo, pretty high-profile, famous shop out here in Las Vegas. So, Brandon, I'll toss it over to you. Introduce yourself a little bit.
So it's kind of a long story. It's kind of a crazy story.
We got time.
Yeah. I originally was born in California, in Palmdale, California. I moved out to Vegas when I was about 7 years old.
Oh, shit, okay.
And by the time I was 14, I was introduced to drugs and alcohol. I was either in jail or in a rehab, or I was homeless. I was just on the street, and I wasn't doing nothing.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough to get into a rehab out in California, where I had a very short stay there. They didn't want me there.
Okay.
And when I left Long Beach,
they didn't want you there, or you didn't want to be there.
Oh, a little bit of both.
Which made them. I was gonna say
a little bit of both. I didn't care to be there at the time, and they wanted people that wanted to care to be there. And at the time, I just really didn't have the headspace of like, I wanted to be there, but I didn't know how to be there just yet.
Okay.
Sure. Help me understand, how do you get introduced to stuff like that? Like,
I used to kick it at the skate park all the time. I used to kick it at my local skate park, and then we got some those really hood ass kids that want to come through and just hang out with everybody because we're all at the park too. Once I saw one kid smoking on foil, it was like a normal thing. After that, I saw another kid doing it. It was like, whatever, they're smoking Roxy's and doing all that. And then one of my buddies, he started selling it. He started dabbling in it, smoking it a little bit too. And then one day I ended up at his house, and I was sitting with him at his kitchen counter, and he looked at me and he was just like, "You trying to smoke some of that whoop-de-woo with me?" That's what he told me, some of that whoop-de-woo. And I was like, I guess. Like, I didn't even really think about it, but I remember watching him do it the first time, and it was so dumb because he did it and just looked at me like, "See? It's not that bad, Yeah. And then after I was watching him do it, he did it, and I was like, well, he's fine. It must not be that bad. And so then I did it with him, and I remember the first time I did it, it was whatever. I wasn't starstruck, I didn't find something that I needed my whole life or anything like that. It was just all right, that's cool, it's chill. We did that.
Were you already smoking weed before that?
I was already smoking weed before that. I was already taking pills every now and then if I was able to get a hold of some. Like I said, I was 14, and then I was always going to house parties and shit, drinking.
Yeah.
How different is your first experience smoking weed versus first experience smoking tar, like you said?
My first experience smoking heroin was the most normal thing compared to smoking weed. It felt natural.
I
felt
so?
Just because it felt so natural.
Doing it.
I smoked heroin for the first time, and I was like, this is okay. I was content. I just felt super content. Yeah, I felt comfy. I felt content. Weed, the first time I ever smoked weed, I was like, oh shit, I'm blitzed now. I got to go home to my parents. I'm stoned. I don't like this. I got paranoid. And that continued for weeks. I would go to his house every night, and my homie used to think he was a rapper. So every night we'd go kick it in his room, and we'd be smoking off foil, and he'd be sitting there rapping, and I'd just be chilling with him. You know?
He had bars or not?
Nah.
You gotta keep it real, bro. Yeah.
That's my boy, RIP. But
RIP.
Yeah, he was a terrible rapper, but he would try. We were just being boys, just kicking it.
Hey, E for effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the drugs that I think at the time we were like, damn, that's some bars,
Yeah.
But that continued for weeks. I don't think I really noticed that I was quickly becoming addicted to it, and it's because it was so readily available for me.
Sure.
That I wasn't experiencing withdrawals. I wasn't stealing from people or doing crazy stuff. So it's not a big deal.
There was never a time where you're where reality's kind of setting in, where you're kind of damn, dude, I'm doing fucking.
Yeah, it was after my buddy died.
Mm-hmm. This the one that introduced you?
Yep.
How long ago?
He was 16. He was 16 when he passed away. Yeah.
Wow. And it was it overdose?
The story that happened was he went to his dad's house, had an asthma attack, died on the neighbor's porch because he was crawling across the street trying to get help. And they dubbed it as an asthma attack.
That was probably a little family cover-up situation.
I would assume.
They didn't want the cause of death to be drug-related.
Yeah. Which I don't blame him.
Yeah, of course.
But after he passed away, oh my God, it was game on. By that time, then I knew I was okay, I need to do this all the time. Now I started experiencing withdrawals and the uncomfortable feeling of needing it all the time, Yeah. And then after that third year, I was full blown addicted.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the time I was 17, I had anywhere from a $200 to $300 a day habit, and that was between heroin and cocaine.
So you mentioned your family earlier, and I mean, tell me if you want to go down this route or not.
Yeah.
I would be curious, how was your relationship, with your family?
Yeah.
Before and during, anything you'd like to go into?
So relationship with mom and dad, great. Love my mom and dad. I had a very, very good upbringing. My parents had me in dance when I was a little kid. I was a professional dancer by the time I was 9 years old.
That's awesome.
sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What kind of dance?
I did Polynesian dancing for a long time. I competed in competition. Have you seen Lilo and Stitch, right?
Yeah.
You know, when David's on stage and he's spinning the fire? Yeah, I did that for years.
Damn, that's sick.
I thought you looked familiar.
He said, problem I think is dad worked a lot,
Yep.
So he left mom to go ahead and kind of discipline. When you're a boy and your mom's just this little lady, she
Yeah.
is a pushover. I ran my own household.
Yeah.
I woke up when I wanted, I left when I wanted, I came back, and I was high when I wanted. And
Yeah.
it got to a point where they knew and they just couldn't even do anything.
I was just gonna
about
ask.
Yeah.
Is there? Can you tell that you're high if you're on heroin?
Oh, absolutely. 100%, man. They'd catch me all the time. When you're doing drugs like that, you're slipping all the time. You're slipping in and out of consciousness, and like it's a dead giveaway.
And then they never they would never ask about it. They never say anything about it.
Oh yeah, bro. By the time I was 17, like I said, they were already very aware that I was like doing shit. Pops was always finding like foil and stuff, and then once I became like an IV user, they were always finding that shit. It got to the point where it was almost better for Brandon to stay out of the house because then I can't be at home, can't steal shit, I can't be fucking
Yeah.
possibly ODing or doing something crazy at home. What do you do with a 14, 15-year-old kid that's all strung out?
Yeah,
I was
feel like
always
usually it's not
I was
that.
always like leaving these like little calls for help because like I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know what was going to be able to help me. I didn't know who could help me. I'd still purposely leave my foil out, leave my rigs out, this and that, because I want to get caught. I want somebody to like grab me, hold me, and put me down, and like you're gonna stay here until you're sober.
It's crazy to the level and that addiction takes you, where it's just like you really just don't give a fuck about nothing anymore.
Oh no, I used to tell people all the time. I love when I hear addicts try and say that they lost everything to that shit, and I'm like, bro, I freely gave it away. I gave all of it away. I knew I didn't care, and at one point it was like I just need to get high and maintain being high so that I can continue my day.
You mentioned homeless. Like, when was it that your parents were like, you gotta go?
17, they were done with it.
So where does a 17-year-old kid struggling with addiction go?
There's some train tracks right there that run by the strip. There's tunnels under there, and that's where I would go to sleep. And then during the day, you would see me. I was a streetwalker. I was just walking around. I didn't know what I was doing, what my motives were, other than like, all I know is just keep getting high, and then whatever comes next and happens right now is, okay. At the time, I was like full blown from reality.
That's super interesting to me. So I'd live on the strip, and I see almost the same homeless people every single day. It's same people, whatever, and then every once in a while there's a new one that pops up. Mm-hmm. But it always has been intriguing to me. I'm just like, how are these guys still going? Like, how do they get money? How do they get food? How do they have money for drugs? Like, I might sound just like stupid and oblivious, but like I would love to hear more about like your time homeless. Like,
dude, my hustles were
like
crazy.
Yeah, I would love just to hear more about like how that life really actually is.
So when you're a drug addict, if you don't have a job, you're a thief. And I must speak for myself. I was a thief as a drug addict. Okay. All I did was steal shit. That was my main source of income. My mom, my poor mother, oh my God, I robbed her blind so many times. All the jewelry and all the gold. It just pawned the wedding rings twice, because, you got to get high.
So was it like drugs to be able to go through the day and then find stuff to kind of steal so that you're good for tomorrow?
Yep. It was always, I felt like I was always just playing catch up with trying to get drugs for the next day. So I had to do some dirty work today so that I could have some money for tomorrow so that I can maintain being well.
What was the breaking point where you're like, damn?
There was a couple times that like I had reached out to the folks and like I told them like I wanted to change. Like I didn't want to live like this anymore. They got me into some treatment centers where, I'd get 30 days. Yeah. I would get out of rehab, and day one, I would be back at it thinking that I could just use just a little bit. A little bit, I think when I went to those rehabs, I didn't know what I was trying to like rehabilitate. I just knew that I had a problem with drugs,
What's some of like the scariest moments you had when it was just like you like being homeless?
Honestly, it wasn't even like the homeless. It was more of the jails. But it's really weird out here in Vegas because they be politicking.
Really?
Yeah, they be politicking.
Well, yeah, I guess what happens if you choose to not like politics? Like my brother, he did it in Chicago. They don't really West Coast shit is real different than out there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
over here they'll have you working out and shit, like fall in line. Over there, it's kind of like not really so much.
From what I've seen out here, it looks like you don't have to, but if you don't, like, you lose a lot of things, I
help?
guess. Yeah, a lot of help.
Yeah.
You don't got the camaraderie of some homies in there and shit like that. So you're free game for everybody if they want to fuck with you or take your shit or. But
Did you have any you obviously weren't in prison, but just in jail out here? Did you have any like scary experiences?
they tried to kill me in county jail. Yeah.
Wow.
They, I was hung in the shower my third night there. And it was because of a tattoo I had. I didn't know like the proper steps about going into jail or anything. So when I went into jail, I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't really see CERT officers. I didn't explain like where I should be and anything.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I got housed with a bunch of white boys that didn't care for my skin tone and my eyes and one of the tattoos that I had on my body at the time. And they let me kick dope on the floor that 3 days that I was in there, and then I went to go take a shower one day, and they all came in. They jumped me, and from what I heard is a CO came in and found me hanging by a towel or like one of our bed sheets. They tied it up, and the way the county jails are, it's just a pipe that comes out of the wall.
Yeah.
And it just sprays like a hose. And I guess they left me hanging in there. They shut the whole jail down. They had the ambulance come in. They tried to defib me in the jail. They said I was completely flatlined. They brought me to UMC hospital, and I was on life support for 3 days. I woke up, and I had a neck brace on, and I didn't know really what happened. And you know that saying that your life flashes before your eyes when you die?
Yes.
Can you actually ask anybody that's died and said that?
Yeah.
Your life flashes before your eyes when you, like, come back to life. Because
When you come back.
Because when I was waking up in the hospital, it was like everything was catching up to that moment of my life right there. And it was like that complete like self-demoralization. I was like looking at myself in the hospital like, how did I get here?
Wow.
How did I get here? Drugs.
Did you wake up to anyone? Did you have any friends, family?
Yeah, I woke up to a corrections officer sitting right next to me. I was shackled to the bed. And I remember trying to ask him like why I was here and like what happened. It took me like a day or two to finally like really catch up to myself to realize like, oh, I got hurt in jail. Like,
Yeah.
but like I remember trying to ask the officer like what happened. He wouldn't give me a whole lot of information. He just let me know that I would be out of here, soon. Ended up spending another 3 days there, which then they brought me back to jail. I guess that whole incident that happened left the whole jail fucking shook because, well, one, when they saw me and they brought me back to the jail, they wanted to put me on suicide watch. They thought I tried to kill
You thought
myself.
you did that?
Yeah.
The
And
hell?
then it took one CERT officer to tell somebody, what did he jump off of? Like, he couldn't do that to himself,
Yeah.
because I wasn't going to say anything. I know how that goes, I wasn't going to say
Yeah.
anything. And so I remember when I got back to jail, that same CERT officer who was like trying to tell everybody like, this fool didn't fucking do that. Something happened and nobody knows what happened. He came to come see me, and he wanted me to snitch. He was like, who did that to you? Like, what's going on with you? And, like, he was just being kind of real blunt about it, But at the time, like, I just know I don't want to get hurt again. I'm not a snitch. All I know is I was always taught just keep my mouth shut, just
Yep.
it is what it is, But he understood. Like, he could see it in me that, like, something happened to you,
Yeah.
I got moved to a different tier, to a different house with a bunch of fools that were super cool, that like my skin color, And I saw those fools every day when I would come out for chow. We'd all line up, come out, get in chow line, and it was always they would let the top tier out first, and then we come out, get our food, and then everybody in the bottom tier, they'd just be waiting at the window seeing you. And every day I would see those fools right there just waiting out the window, and they'd be looking at me like they knew they fucked up. They thought they got me,
After like such a near-death experience, how did that? Obviously, it affected you. It's impacted you. That's got to be something that you probably still think about. Like,
Oh, yeah.
You
That
got a
was-
second chance in life, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
That one was a rough one for sure.
Can you say what so you had a tattoo? What was it?
So I had a 4-leaf clover right here that I got when It was St. Patrick's Day, and I was like 15, and like a bunch of the homies got a bunch of clovers. Yeah. And in the prison system, that means something to a lot of people. And I didn't know. I just I like tattoos. I was 50. It was St. Patrick's Day. I got a fucking clover. Like try explain that to a bunch of woods in a cell like it's whatever, and have them like, nah, homie,
so was that
not
like,
whatever?
Their ops?
No, that was theirs. That was theirs. That was something they claimed that I don't claim. That I'm not a part of Aryan Brotherhood. I'm not white.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's what that is. And they were, and they didn't like the fact that I was
But you're
Asian.
not white, isn't it? I mean, I'm also trying to be like, yo, can we like let's sit down and talk about this, bro? Like, I'm not a fucking white
you'd
boy.
think,
Like,
I don't know.
No, you'd think.
You know what that is, bro? Like that's like you have way too much time on your hands in jail. Like
Got all the time.
they have all the time in the fucking world to be worrying about little petty ass shit.
Yep.
Like how many people get little weird symbol fucking tattoos? Like you worked at these little walk-in fucking shops. You
mean 4-leaf clovers I've tattooed on people?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
you were telling them, like, hey, but probably
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Like
Yeah.
4-leaf.
I tell people like, don't go to jail, dog.
yeah.
Don't go to jail.
Bro, that has to be probably the worst tattoo to fucking tattoo on somebody now.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
If someone
100%.
walks in and wants a 4-leaf clover, you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. You can fucking do it.
So I'm not trying to be, but there's no conversation about it. Like they just see it and then like they jump.
No, they
in
had
or-
a conversation. So the first night that I got in jail, I remember they put me on. It's called a canoe. It's just like a bed that they put on the floor when there's no bunks left. So our cell was overpopulated. Had 3 dudes in it, 3 bunks. They gave me a little bunk that I slept on. I remember it was the next morning. They didn't say shit to me like the first day that I got there.
Talking about, are they like just eyeing you? They're like, yo, take it like.
Oh,
let me
yeah,
see
but like
everything,
everybody
360.
does that when you walk into jail. You walk into jail and everybody's eyeing you. Everyone's eyeing you.
To see like where you're from or like.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll do that because like you got to think about it. When you stay in jail long enough, like that becomes your home for a little while. So I want to know who's coming in too. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody comes in, I want to go get him. I want to see his paperwork. I want to know what he's here for, because if he's a weirdo, we're gonna bounce him out. We're gonna make sure he does not stay in our pod. Which is kind of respected. They do that with everybody. They saw that I came in on some drug charges, wasn't crazy or anything like that. I was sleeping just like this. I had my arm out, and I just remember one of the homeboys up there trying to tell me. He was like, why you got that clover on you? And I remember just telling him too. I was like, bro, I'm Irish. It was St. Patrick's Day. Like, I'm like 5% Irish maybe, but like not thinking it's a big deal or nothing like that. But they didn't like that. And I just remember them talking amongst each other. And I remember one of them telling his homie like, yeah, we'll take it off of him. We'll take it off of him. Like, he don't need to be wearing that. And I just remember, I'm 18 now. I'm chip on my shoulder. I don't care what you got to say. It was just like, fuck off,
This
bro.
is you're in the same room though.
Yeah.
Is there no inkling to be like, well, because there's how many of them, and then
there was 3 of them, and I was just telling them that first day too, like, bro, it's just whatever, like, just being a smart ass teenager,
Yeah.
And they played me. They were like, okay, all right, whatever. And then I slept in that bed for about 3 days. I was dope sick. I was so dope sick. They weren't giving me medications in jail to like help with it or nothing like that, so I just had to ride it out, right? So I'm laying there, I'm dope sick. Finally, they open us up for our hour, and they say that we can all, like, go out or go shower or do whatever we got to do. So that's what I wanted to do. I went out to go fucking shower. I don't know how it is anywhere else, but out here, we get these little cards in county jail, and it has our inmate ID on it, and it has, like, a little barcode and our picture and shit. And they'll scan those if you go to, like, the nurse or anywhere that's out of your pod, because they want to know where you're going and shit like that. I got my card scanned so that I could go take a shower. And that same CO that was there that scanned me in, as soon as I went in the shower and like got myself ready, I turned around, he was gone. So I like to think that it was like very orchestrated and like what they were trying to do. Because he was gone. You're not supposed to be gone from something like that. And within a few minutes, I remember all 3 of them came in, one after the other, and it was so like a movie scene. Like, I could feel it. I was like, they don't like me. All 3 of them are coming in here. Like, something's going on. I remember one just came up right next to me, got on the shower next to me, and the other 2 came on the other side. And I remember just like looking side to side, like, I know these fools don't fuck with me. And then before I knew it, all 4 of us, we were all slipping around, butt ass naked, fighting. And finally one of them just clocked me good enough, and I was out. I don't remember nothing. I woke up 3 days later in that hospital.
Damn. Fuck, dude.
Yeah. They said they took the bed sheet and they said they ripped it all up so it was like nice and long, and they tied it around my neck a bunch of times, and they just hung me up there and they just left me.
Wow.
Yeah. All for a tattoo.
Dude, all
fucking nuts.
All
bro.
for a fucking 4-leaf clover.
And my smart ass, because like I said, I'm 18 and, no fear and fuck them and all that shit. I get back to jail, and every time I'm in chow line, I'm sitting there like looking at them too.
Coming out of the hospital, you're back in there. You're obviously seeing these guys who, did that to you. Did you ever have conversation with them again?
I never got to speak with them ever again. The only time I ever saw them after that was in chow. The way we were during the time that I was in jail, it's 23-hour lockdown the whole time. We were always in our cell. The only time we got out was for chow, which lasted about 5 minutes because we just grab our tray, bring it back to our rooms, and then they would let us out for an hour to like watch TV. But like, I'm not watching TV. I'm not trying to sit down and watch TV with people. I'm trying to draw or be in my room by myself. I'm not trying to socialize with people.
Did you ever think about like getting revenge on them?
Oh yeah, but that comes with a whole different.
Because you're going in there knowing like during this time, how much time do you get?
How long was I in there at that time? About 2 months.
There was no inkling to be like, yo, it was them.
Oh, everybody knew it was them.
No. Like when you said like you weren't gonna like, is that snitching? Would you consider that snitching? Is it?
Yeah. If I said it was them. Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'm telling
you.
you.
When I got back, they asked me what happened. I said I don't know. And I didn't want to talk to nobody, and I just wanted to just finish out my time. I didn't want to tell nobody what happened. The last thing I wanted to do that was probably like the only jail street smarts that I had going in there. I was like, don't snitch. Something happens, don't snitch. Who hit you? The floor.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. The day that you stepped out, did it ever like come across your mind like, hey, I've been clean now for 2 months. Like maybe I should get my shit together, or was like it the opposite? Was it like give me fucking drugs?
It was give me drugs.
Yep.
For the most part, every time I was getting out of rehab, it was like I'm gonna get high today. The same day that I got checked in, the same day I fucking snuck out, went down the street, picked up some meth from a homeless dude, brought it back to the rehab, got super high all night, and I remember that same day that the rehab, they were all talking about like just being honest with people and this and that and all shit. And I don't know what crawled into me to make me think I'm gonna be honest today.
Yeah.
I went and I told the staff, I said, you know what I've been doing in my room all night? I've been spinning a pookie. Can I get some kind of higher level of care? Because like I'm a squirrely one. Like you didn't even know I left. I left the rehab, and they were real cool with me. They're, oh, Brandon, we appreciate you telling us this and that and everything. Just hang out in here until the program director comes in tomorrow morning, and we'll figure this all out. I'm thinking like, great, I'm in a good spot, right? Just told them,
how nice.
I need some high level of care.
Yeah.
Man, the program director came in the next morning and said he needs to pack his shit. I broke a law. Okay, you can't get high in rehab. You can't bring drugs into a rehab. It's a federal offense. And I'm like,
shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't know this at the time. It was rehab. There's got to be drugs here.
That's honestly, that's what I.
You know what I'm saying?
Too. Yeah.
So yeah, they weren't going to get me higher level of care. Instead, they told me I had to pack my shit and leave. They packed up all my stuff in a black trash bag, and they were kind enough to get me into another rehab.
Who what was your parents putting you in these rehabs?
Yeah,
or was this like some like state and
No, dude, Pops has always just had good insurance, and at the time,
You have to pay for rehab?
Heck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Really?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, we'd
Oh my
I really never made it
God.
that far. I don't know.
I'll let you
my
ask
mom
my
spent
dad
30
one day how much.
30 bands on one.
Dude, that's cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
My stay in Watsonville, California was like $200,000.
Yeah.
And that was for less than 6 months that I was there. That's for room and board and shit.
Yeah, this was 30 bands for I think 30 days.
Yeah, some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It was like
that
30
actually
or-
yeah, that
30 or
sounds,
60
that sounds about
days.
right. They'll get you through detox and all that.
Yeah, I have a super sour taste in my mouth with rehabs, and
Me too.
I actually, me and Chewy always argue because we've talked about like therapists and all that kind of shit, and I think every rehab is very different.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like the biggest thing that I always hated about him was, so my dad went to multiple rehabs as well, and we'd do family visits, and it was fucking embarrassing, bro. Like I hated doing this shit because I was fucking in high school, and I was like, I'm there, tell my friends like, oh, I'm going to see my dad in rehab.
Yeah.
Like fucking embarrassing, But my dad was on, meth was his fucking main issue, and he was also a little bit suicidal. The meth took him down a fucking wild ass path. But moral of the story here is what they kind of taught him was, instead of, because he was suicidal, they didn't want him like, going off the deep end and tipping. So what they taught him was, you did this because of this. You did this because of this. So when he got out of rehab, instead of just like manning up and accepting and like just being able to like talk to his family that like, hey, I fucked up. Like, hey, I've done some stuff. He would just blame like all this other shit. Like, oh, well, I was doing this because of this. I was doing this because of this. So,
that's just a bad therapist.
So I'm sure there's some great ones out there. And I think, Chewy maybe has a good one, but,
I do. So after 9 times, bro, like what was how many times after that before like it worked, or did you make it work
after
without
that
it?
rehab is when I figured it out. So I got kicked out of that rehab. Like I said, I got caught with a phone, and I was smoking weed in there. I wasn't really trying, but I didn't really have anybody telling me what it was I was supposed to be doing to like live a better life, so that I didn't think about doing drugs and alcohol anymore. Like I said, they were just kind of locking me down for a little bit. So when I got kicked out of there, first thing I did is call mom and dad. And I'm like, hey, they gave me the boot again. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So, you guys want to come get me? Like I said, I'm in Pomona, California. They're all the way in Las Vegas. I could just hear it in my dad's voice, and he was like, dude, like, I love you, but like, I'm not gonna help you right now. Like, I can't do nothing for you. You're not helping yourself, dude. You're fucking sneaking phones in. This is fucking 3 rehabs in less than 2 months, for that one. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're right. Like, you can't help me. He's like, you just got to figure it out, bro. I'm sorry. I can't send you money. Can't do shit. Can't nothing. I'm like, all right, got to figure it out. So I ended up panhandling a couple bucks just so I could get a bus ticket. I took that bus to the Metrolink in Pomona. The Metrolink took me to it took me to LA first, where I hopped on the train out there and then took the train to Palmdale. Now, out in Palmdale, I have a nephew. My nephew, when we were 16 years old, I got him to smoke meth with me for the first time. Okay. After that, he became a full-on meth head for years. And then he ended up getting involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, and he got sober, and he started running like meetings and doing panels. And so I hadn't seen this nephew since that time. So all my knowledge is that like last time I saw him, I was getting high with him. But from what I hear is he's out in Palmdale now. He's doing a program, and he's like got his shit together, right? So I hit that nephew up, and I'm like, hey, bro, I'm on the train right now. I'm coming out to Palmdale. Like, I have nothing. I have nobody, and like I don't even know what I need. Like, what can you do for me, And my nephew, the only thing he told me is like, bro, just get out here. I'm gonna just take you to an AA meeting. Like, I don't know what to do for you either, but like I'll take you to a meeting, And I was like, all right, bet. So I get out to Palmdale. He comes and picks me up from the train station, and the first thing we do is we headed over to an AA meeting, and I met some of the best people ever, the guys that saved my life. Everyone kept telling me about this sober living house that was like right up the street from us, and I need to go check it out because it's for like real like diehard drug addicts, And all I know is I'm different from everybody. I'm a different kind of drug addict. I need a high level of care because no one's gonna fix this, And everyone was like, no, bro, you'll get the high level of care you need over at this house, So I was like, cool, I'll go check it out. I'll go see what it's about. Not $1 in my pocket. I had like a backpack with like a little bit of clothes. I didn't even have shoes at the time. I was wearing flip-flops. I didn't have nothing, okay? Me and my nephew, we drive over to that house once the meeting was over. And it was so funny. We didn't even knock or anything. I remember my nephew walking up, and he just like walked through the front door, and he was like, I think it's like open like this. And it was. We walked in, and there's a bunch of dudes just chilling there, and a bunch of scary looking motherfuckers, a bunch of dudes that had just got out of prison, had like a couple days clean and sober. and everybody looked like they were just chilling and hanging out. And we met the house manager, and I remember sitting and telling him like my story, like, dude, I'm 18 years old. I can't stop getting high and doing all this shit, and like none of these rehabs are working. Like I don't know where to be. And he looked at me and he was like, well, this ain't rehab, dude. Like you're not gonna come in here and not do anything. Like if you want to have a better life, like you're gonna do things to make yourself have a better life here. Like we don't fuck around.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know what that was gonna entail, and it was actually super simple, dude. That same day, that house manager, he got me an AA book, and we sat down and we read the doctor's opinion, and I found out that I had a physical allergy towards drugs and alcohol. You know, and once I found that out, that was enough for me to want to like do a little bit more research and find out why it is that I'm doing these things. And that's why I like to say today, it was never the drugs, it was myself. I just always resorted to going to drugs, you know? So yeah, I ended up staying at that house, at that sober living. I was there for, what was I there for? I was probably there for about 3.5 months.
Yeah.
And in that 3.5 months, I worked a 12-step program. I was of service. I was going to about 6 meetings a week. I was like super, super involved with the AA community in Palmdale. And then it's funny because this is how like the whole tattooing thing kind of ties into all this, because during that time, we ended up having a guy come in. I'm not going to say any names, but one of the homies came in and did like a 10-year prison stint. I mean, I guess I could say his name. Yeah, my homie Matt. He goes by Mohawk Matt. On
Mohawk Matt.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Shout out. No, he's a real one. I won't forget the ones who put me on, though, because I remember seeing this fool, and he had a bunch of face tattoos, and he had an AA big book, and he was kind of all over the place, but he was sober. And he was telling me his stories about, like, the kinds of stuff he used to get into, and I could see where he's at now, and I was just like, damn, it's not the same person. You know, I was like, so what are you doing that like your life isn't like how you're telling me? You know, and he was like, right here, bro. It's all that's been in this book. You know, and I could show you, and whatever. Same day, that fool gave me a T-shirt and a pair of shoes because I didn't have shoes. He gave me a brand new pair of Converse. This fool fucking laced me up, and I just remember I was like, damn, fool, I respect you. You know, that was cool. Nobody did nothing nice for me like that. And then he started taking me to all these AA meetings and shit. And like I said, he was heavily involved in the tattoo community. He was trying to be a tattoo model and whatnot. He was, like I said, covered in fucking tattoos. And I thought that was cool, right? I just thought that was super cool. And
I didn't even know that's the thing. Like, to be a tattoo model.
Yeah, be like an ink model or just be like the face of tattoo stuff. You know, I didn't know that was a thing either. Right? It was like you're a tattoo artist or that's it. You know,
Right.
One of our buddies that was in the sober living, he got his hands on some tattoo machines, and he was like tattooing at the house. And so like I remember I got like my first face tattoo from him. I remember seeing like the homie. I was like, well, he's got hella face tattoos, and he's sober, and like, look, life's going good for him. Like I could do that too, you know.
What was your first face tattoo?
I got the butterfly tattooed on my face. At the time, I wanted a tattoo that like represented like growth.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
And the butterfly fit at the time, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get this little butterfly tattoo done. I remember my big homie too telling me, he was like, that's whack. That's super whack, dude. Like, why'd you do that?
Like, after it was done?
Yeah, right after it was done.
That's the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah, he was with me too. He came there with me, saw me put it on, and then right when it was done, he's like, yeah, that's kind of whack, dog. And I was like, nah, dude, I love it. I was stoked. I was so hyped that I was like seeing somebody in my life that had a crazy past, but still is able to come out of it and still live kind of, I shouldn't say a reckless life, but just a much alternative lifestyle to how other people are living, you know. And he was making it work, and I was like, tight. You know, that was inspiring. Shortly after, I randomly got I got tagged in a Facebook post. Some lady in our town, she had a well-known tattoo shop. It was one of the older tattoo shops in Palmdale at the time. She had posted on Facebook that she was just looking for like a tattoo apprentice. And like I said, my art background went as far as just doing graffiti in the streets and stuff like that. Yeah. Nothing crazy. I didn't really know how to draw, nothing like that. And when I saw that I got tagged in the post, I was like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna just go check it out. And I did. I went in and I sat with the lady for a little while. And I remember she wanted me to draw a rose, and I drew an ugly little rose for her. But I think she was just really impressed with the fact that like I was like super honest with her. I was telling her like I'm freshly sober and like I'm trying to turn my life around and all this shit, and like I need to. I didn't have hobbies and I didn't have nothing to do. You know, I didn't have anything consistent enough to keep my mind fucking occupied on shit. It was just like wake up, go to AA meetings, and be sober. And doing that enough will get you loaded. You know, being like doing that kind of stuff enough and not expanding, that'll become sick on its own. You know, and that's kind of the point that I was getting to. And so she ended up hiring me. She hired me on the spot. And like I said, I had no art background or nothing like that. At the time, I was working part-time for like a little landscaping company. And I remember leaving the shop telling her, I'm going to go quit this landscaping company job. I'm going to go give them back their company truck and I'll come back here and I'll work full-time, you know?
Yeah.
And she was stoked about it. I leave, I drop off the company truck, I quit my job. I go back over to the tattoo shop. I walk inside and there's some girl sitting right there and she's got like a portfolio with her and all this stuff. And I see the other owner come out, her husband. Yeah, he comes out and he's like, hey, what's up, man? Like, what do you know, can we help you? And I'm like, I just got hired here. You know, he's like, I didn't hire you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the lady did like a couple hours ago, you know? And he's like telling me, she's like, no, I just hired this girl. And he's like pointing at the girl that's in there with her portfolio. And I'm like, no way, did I just quit my job to come be working at a tattoo shop? And you guys played me like this, you know? I was so nervous. And so she comes out of her room, the lady who hires me, and she's like trying to tell her husband, no, I just hired him. And he's like telling her, well, he don't have a portfolio or nothing like that. This girl's in here with a portfolio. I already said yes to her. Like, what are we going to do? And they're talking in front of us, right? I'm looking at the girl like, you better kick rocks. Like,
leave.
I can't. Yeah, I came here first. You know?
I was here first, bitch.
Yeah. Like,
This shit's mine.
yeah. And so I just remember him telling his wife, he's like, he's like, well, we do need a body piercer. Bro, I lied so fast. I looked at him, I was like, oh, I know how to do body piercings.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I do that. We do body piercings.
Cake.
You know?
Pierce a nipple. Ain't no
And
thing.
he looked at me, so he was just like, oh, well, then that's perfect. We'll just hire you as a full-time body piercer, and then we'll hire her as the apprentice. Now, mind you, that was like super good for me because I was going to be an unpaid apprentice that was going to go work there. Now I got a job as a paid body piercer. You know, so it was all right, bet. Okay, cool. Like that was like my in right there. And so for like the first couple months that I was working there, man, I was all over YouTube. I was on YouTube trying to learn how to do body piercings.
So I was just going to say, how in the fuck do they hire you as a body piercer, but they don't even like spot check your work or like
there's no portfolio for that, right? Like,
I had no. Well, I mean, like you could have like an Instagram or something, you know, pictures of like your work and things like that, you know. But I didn't have nothing. I barely even had Instagram at the time. I think the lady was just so enthused with hiring me at the time that like they didn't even bother to think about looking at my background or anything like that. So yeah, she hired me on the spot.
So what was the first thing you pierced?
The first thing I pierced was a septum, and she had me do it right in front of her. And I remember I was so nervous. I was like shaking nervous.
What's a septum? Is that here?
Right here. Yeah. I did it fine. She was there for the whole thing. She watched me do it the one time. It was on her homegirl, and I remember her husband was in the room too, and I was all jittery. But I did the piercing. It was cool. It was fun. I YouTubed it a bunch of times the night before. The piercing was fine, and I remember her like looking at me and just going, "Okay, like you can do this. You're good." And after the one time, she never saw me do another piercing ever again. And I would just go in there and do my piercings for the day. I YouTubed everything on how to learn how to do it. And
somebody would come in like, I want to pierce my nipple, and you'd be like, hold on, and you'd watch a video.
No, so I was already at home like studying. I was already at home like
YouTube
really,
University, man.
Yeah, I was really at home just trying to figure it all out. On top of that, we had a guy that worked in the shop at the time who he was a tattoo artist, but he would do body piercings for like specialty clients and stuff like that, things that they wanted like multiple things done all at the same time. So like they'd get their nipples, their belly button, and their ears done. You know, he'd have like one big thing come in so he can make a good little chunk of change, you know?
Oh, I see.
So he'd have his clients come in, and I would just hang out like I'm just hanging out like normal, you know? But the whole time I was like, I'm taking notes. I'm going to see how he does this. I'm going to see how he pierces. And I did. I learned how to do like nipple piercings doing that by just watching him do it so many times. I wasn't hanging out. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But we figured it out.
That's cool, bro.
Yeah, they
that's
ended
ballsy. I don't know if I'd have...
I
probably could watch a bunch of videos. Let me practice on you, bro. I'll watch a bunch of videos. Let me pierce your nipple.
Okay, so here's my question for you. Did you ever come clean with the shop
Never.
and tell them?
Never.
Like, hey guys,
Ever in my life.
y'all fucking hired a goddamn
Nope.
ex-addict
Right off the street.
Off the street. I've never done a tattoo. I've never done a body piercing. I've never done nothing.
Nothing. Shout out Electric Soul. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I still fuck with them. There's still good people over there. Like I said, they put me on with like getting my foot in the door and everything like that. But no, I never told them nothing, and no one ever said nothing. It was never.
So when do you transition from piercings to tattoos?
So, remember I said they hired the
chick,
other chick. Yeah, so they hired that other chick. She only lasted about 6 months before they gave her the boot. And in the midst of me, like I said, YouTube University, studying body and piercings, doing all that, I was coming to the shop every day, and I was watching the guys tattoo. You know, I was watching them tattoo. I was also watching. I was probably making okay money for the time, for my age, for my bills, everything that I had going on. Like I was balling, right? I was balling for myself. But I was watching these fools like make just as much money as I was making in a week off one tattoo. You know, and I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Like, I got to do this, you know? Then I started drawing a lot. I started picking out all the books, all the, like, the Sailor Jerry books, all, like, the real classic, old-school kind of tattoos. And I was, like, trying my best to just mimic them and trace them and do all that. And the whole time I was at that shop, not once did I tattoo. Not once did I tattoo. The owner, she wasn't there, like, a whole lot. And I was mainly left to just hang out with the guys all day and watch them tattoo. And then on the side, I was drawing. And then full time, I was fucking piercing there. Okay. I wanted to move back to Vegas after I had a year sober. I felt like it was never the place of where I was to get high or anything like that. Because a lot of people, they're like, don't come back to Vegas. You're just going to get loaded again. And I was like, bro, I can get loaded right here easily. You know, like that's not the issue.
Yep.
I want to come back because where I was living, not a whole lot of opportunity, super small town. And I thought with the career path that I was now going with, the tattoo shop and the body piercings, I can make something happen out here. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we moved to California, or we moved out to Vegas from California. And I think for like the first 6 months that I was here, I wasn't doing anything but traveling to people's houses to do body piercings. I was on Instagram promoting myself as like a local Vegas body piercer, and I was going to people's houses to do that. And one of my buddies that worked at Revolt Tattoo, he let me know that a shop called Starlight was hiring a full-time body piercer. And I was like, bet, I'll go check that out. So I went over there. I ended up doing like just a quick in-face interview. They hired me on the spot. I ended up piercing there for about a year. And this is right before the pandemic started. Okay. Gotcha. And so I'm piercing there for about a year now. I've made myself super comfortable, and I was doing really well over there as just a body piercer. But I was same thing. I had still been watching the guys tattoo in the shop, and I knew getting tattooed was something I liked doing, and I'm sure I would like doing it too, you know? Yeah. And I remember telling one of my buddies, my buddy Alex, like I was just like picking his brain apart all the time about how he got into it and like, what should I get first? Like, do I buy machines? Or do I get this? Like, how do I get the ball going with this, you know? And this fool just told me, he was like, bro, you just got to do it. You know, he was like, you don't need somebody to teach you on fake skin. You don't need to do that. You just need to get some tattoo equipment and do it, right? And I was like, all right, that's intimidating, but like, I guess I'll just do it.
Yeah.
So the pandemic started and all the hotels shut down, right? And at the time, we were all joking, like, they're not going to shut down the Strip. You know, they're not going to close the Las Vegas Strip. That's not a thing. And they did. And when they did, we were gone from the shop, I think, for about 6 months. That whole 6 months, it was, you know, it was a ghost town down there. No one was there.
That was so crazy, bro.
Yeah, no one was doing shit. Thank God for everyone's little fun employment checks that were coming in and shit. Because during that time of COVID, right when the shop stopped, I think I spent my first stimulus check on buying a bunch of tattoo equipment. And I just started tattooing out of my house. All the clients and people that like I was already meeting from working in the tattoo shops and stuff. Yep. I was like hitting them up, letting them know like I got a little spot going on at my house. I re-renovated a room so that I could like tattoo out of it like and make it look professional. Yeah. I tried to be as like professional as I could through like the whole process of teaching myself how to tattoo, as far as like sterilization and like the cleanliness of it, bloodborne pathogens, like doing everything I could to like cover my bases so that if anybody had anything to say, I could be like, dude, I'm like legit about this, you know, like I'm really taking the time to learn this craft, you know? So then the strip opens back up. They tell us we can all come back to work, and I come down there, and the hotels gave us a maximum occupancy, which was only 30%. Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but those hotels hold thousands of people. Okay, it's 30% occupancy in any of our hotels out here. It's a ghost town. There's nobody in there. If they're not in their rooms and walking the strip, there's nobody in the fucking hotel. You know.
Right.
So I went back and I was there for about 2 months. And I remember the first couple of days that I got back, I was like trying to tell all the homies. I was like, "Yo, look what I've been doing over the course of COVID. Like I've just been at home tattooing people, you know." And they were hyped. All the homies were hyped, and they were like, "Dude, you're good at it, you know? Like you know what you're doing. Like you should just ask if you could tattoo here, right?" And so I did. I asked the owner if it was cool if I could tattoo, and he was like, "Yeah, go for it. I don't care." I had nobody teach me, nobody sign me off on nothing, nobody like overlook anything. I just started doing it, and then I asked one. I was like, "Is it cool if I do it here now?" And he was like, "Yeah, bro." He saw my work, and it was like, "That's super cool with me." Didn't even like blink about it. I was like, "Tight. This is cool. This is cool." During this, one of my best friends since high school, he has kind of a similar story. Around pandemic, his mom bought him a bunch of tattoo equipment, and the kid's one of the sickest black and gray artists I've seen now. Does portraits so good. He's only been tattooing for about 4 or 5 years, but during that time, he was at home tattooing. We ended up even hosting like a Friday the 13th at his house, and like had a whole event, had people come through, and we tattooed. And we were both talking about it, like, dude, we can make careers out of this. Like, I think it's profitable enough for us to like live comfortably and just do this, you know. All of a sudden, this fool pulls up to my house one day. It was on my birthday, and my homie got me a blender, and inside the blender was a set of keys. And I was like, "What are these keys, bro?" He's like, "Dog, I bought a tattoo shop." And I'm like, "You did what?" Bro, we were like not even a year into like just doing this. And he's like, "No, dude, I bought a tattoo shop. Like it's already a tattoo shop. So I bought it from somebody, and like we're going to run it." And I was like, "Oh my God, like I don't know if I'm ready for all this, but like at the same time, like I'm not really making money over a Starlight now. Like it's dead. Like fuck it. Let's go. Let's go do it." And so we did. I ended up working at that shop for about 4 years. Me and the homies, we built it from the ground up. You know, we renovated the whole thing and got like ourselves established. Hired a bunch of our other homies that we grew up with. So all the dudes that I was tattooing with for like the last couple of years, these are like my childhood friends. These are my homies I grew up with before I got into drugs and stuff like that. Before they said, "Hey, stay away for a little bit," you know. Yeah. I had to go away, get clean, find a career, get myself right, come back, and get all my homies back, and then we all started working under the same roof. You know,
wow.
And we did that successfully. They're still doing it. They're still doing it successfully. Shout out Blood and Tears. They're killing it over there. You know, those are my best friends over there. But we all just learned off each other. Like I said, my homie that was learning black and gray, I was over here learning how to do traditional work. Thank God we also had another homie that had like a year more experience than us. That was trying to like show us how to do it too. And we just winged it, man. We just figured it out. Like I'm 5 years in now, and I still like to think though I'm still like.
Just winged it, bro. That's like the motto of your whole fucking life, my guy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Literally, like you've just been winging shit.
I've just been winging it, bro.
But it's like starting off piercing. Mm-hmm. Like that is one of the
that is crazy.
Dude, that is some of the like, dude. Like there's, you know, I think about all the jobs I've had, you know, like over the years, and like people show up, you know, at fucking jobs not knowing what the fuck they're doing, but it's like. It's shit.
They're low stake jobs.
They're like, it's like shit. Like, you know, you learn how to do a software program on a computer, or you learn how to, you know, do something, you know, whether it's physical labor or something. I've worked construction jobs. I've worked, you know, corporate jobs, all sorts of shit, you know, but like, that's really fucking wild that like piercing, you know, you're puncturing somebody's fucking skin. You winged it.
So like I think at the time too, I thought because like in like middle school, I think I like pierced a couple ears, like you know with the friends and stuff like that, just trying to do. So I had pierced like my own ears or whatever.
Yo, hella funny story on that. In college, I used to charge $50 to pierce people's ears.
Tight.
I got my ears pierced. So I grew up in northeastern Montana, where a fucking earring in your ear is absolutely
wild.
Absurd. Like
you're different.
You're I won't say it. But you guys know what I'm getting at. Anyway, it was just frowned upon. But I remember I go to college, I end up getting my ears pierced, and the studs that they pierced my ears with were I got them done at Claire's.
Tight.
And the fucking studs, are like super sharp.
Yeah.
Right? They're super sharp studs. So I remember I kept these studs. I got different earrings. I kept the studs, and I would fucking tell people like, hey, bring a set of earrings, and it's $50. So I would use my studs. I'd use my stud that was fucking sharp. I would fucking dip it in some sanitizer.
Yeah, because you gotta get it sterile.
And I took a fucking.
I think he dipped it in vodka.
Some shit.
Yeah, either
actually just Tito's.
It was some Tito's. It was like some fucking Tito's or Smirnoff or it was some nasty vodka. What's like the bottom of the barrel?
Some Pop-Off.
Yes, Pop-Off, bro. Oh my God. So I would literally take my fucking studs that I got my ears pierced with, dip them in some fucking sanitizer. I'd take an ice cube in a washcloth. I would ice the front and the back of their ear, and I'd just fucking pop it through.
Yep.
And then once I popped it, I'd literally get their new stud and I'd pull it and
put it right back in the hole.
And then put another one right in.
Yep.
Like within seconds.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But dude, that's fucking sick, man. Honestly, dude, I feel a lot of people can like take away like your message though. Like you literally you just jumped in and tried shit, bro. And although you jumped in and tried shit that you had no fucking idea about, you did what you had to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Even difficult tasks, bro. Like, I mean,
it's real easy to get discouraged and be like, you know what, bro, maybe this shit ain't for me.
Yeah.
Right. But like the willingness to keep going and get better and like watch the YouTube videos and watch other people tattooing. Like that's
like, I think about, awesome. I mean, he's obviously a barber, we're reporting live from a barber shop right now. Like I think about like you fuck up somebody's hair. Let's be real. It's not a big deal.
Shit grows back.
Like fucking shit's gonna grow back. Yo, you really fuck up somebody's fucking piercing and fucking, like that's, I mean, like holes eventually will heal up, but there's gonna be a mark. There's gonna be something like,
there's a memory.
A memory. Or like even like a fucking tattoo. Like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
That's
I think in the midst of all this, what I've enjoyed the most out of like the whole experience of like taking on new tasks with the tattooing, the piercing, and like the shop life, everything, is that it goes hand in hand with what I was doing when I was trying to get sober. Yeah. When I originally like found what was working to like make my life better, I noticed that I found the same thing in like tattooing. Right, I could strive for better every day. I could be willing to learn and grow. And it's just the same as tattooing because no one's the best, even the best tattoo artists in the world. They're still finding out new things and like they're evolving more, and that's kind of where I applied that,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it's always a new challenge, like there's always going to be some new tattoo that comes your way that you've, never done, and like that's just how life is in general. Like you can never really prepare what's going to happen in fucking life. All you can do is just take shit day by day.
Exactly.
And I think that's huge in addiction as well. Like you battle addiction, I'm sure, on a daily basis, but it's something that you don't think about tomorrow or you don't think about 2 weeks from now. You think about what's in front of you, and that's today.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what the program that I was involved in taught us. It was to be present, be focused on right now. I don't need to worry about shit that's going on tomorrow. It's not even there yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think, another thing that sticks out to me is like, you wouldn't be where you are here today if it wasn't for people giving you an opportunity.
Oh, 100%.
And
I think a lot of the times I just wanted somebody to give me a chance at some things.
And I think that's the unfortunate thing in life, bro. It's like I feel there's a lot of people today, especially in our society today, man. It's a fucking cold world out there.
Oh, for sure.
And there's a lot of people that, I was just chatting with somebody about, people given opportunities. Like, a lot of people get to places in life because of opportunities. So it's like, I'm that kind of person where it's like, if I ever have an opportunity to put somebody on or put somebody in a place to fucking win, I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
Because
facts,
like
absolutely.
I know how important that is, today. And it's like, I feel most people probably could have looked at you, be like, yo, this guy's a fucking loser.
Yeah.
No offense, but like, let's be real.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucking bunch of rehabs, fucking,
The resume doesn't look too great.
yeah. And that's the fucked up thing with the world today is most people, they judge a book by its cover, and they look at people and they're like, oh well, he's done this, that, and whatever. He's probably not, he might be good today for 2 months or 3 months, but he's gonna fall off or some shit like that. So,
Exactly.
But even like taking the opportunities, right, and like going with it, because like going the extra mile to like watch the videos or like watch, I don't know. I think that's it is like the people presenting them, but it's also like taking them and fucking running with it, bro.
yeah,
Right.
Yep.
I think that's fucking great, dude. So how long you been sober then now?
I'll take 8 years in July.
Fuck, dude.
8 years off of
Congratulations,
heroin.
bro.
Yeah.
8 years.
That's
8 years.
just as long as I was using. So I was using for about 8 years. Most of that time I was an IV user, so I was like heavy stuck on it,
Yeah.
So now I'm coming up on my milestone that is just as long as the time that I was using.
Yeah.
I'm sober.
I don't like to bring up like touchy subjects or if this happened, but have you, since you, I guess, got into the piercing, the tattooing, you left the landscaping job, you were at the, sober living halfway kind of house, AA meetings, all that kind of stuff. When, basically when you turn the corner in life, since you turned the corner in life, have you relapsed?
So here's one thing I like to say. I don't claim sobriety.
Okay.
For the simple fact that I'm not sober because I do smoke weed.
Okay.
I keep a wax pen on me. I was completely 100% drug and alcohol free, weed, everything for 4 years.
Okay.
Before I turned around and I made the decision that I wanted to smoke a little bit of weed and have a drink.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend that to anybody who's a recovering addict that wants to go in and try that. I did extensive work to make myself right with me, to be able to have a drink with impunity.
Yeah.
And even at that, I don't care to today. But like I said, I won't claim sobriety for the simple fact that I think that the people who are really sober work really hard to have that statement,
Yeah.
I do say I'm clean off heroin, and I'm stoked with that because when I smoke weed, I probably won't rob you. If I do a little bit of heroin, all your shit will be gone. So, you know what I mean? So it's a give and take thing.
Yeah.
But I think a message that I would like to give for anybody that's like on drugs and just trying to, better themselves is that 12-step program isn't a program to teach you how to get off drugs. In 1939, they took 100 people through those steps. 93 of those people stayed 100% sober to the day they died. The other 7%, their lives got dramatically better. It's a program that teaches you just how to live better, And I recommend anybody that's on drugs, not on drugs, that wants to just fucking flip through it and find out how to live a better life, because that's what it does. It doesn't teach you to go to AA meetings and to do all this other stuff. It teaches you how to be right with yourself and your higher power, so that like drugs and alcohol aren't a thing, So, and by doing those things, that's why I think I can go have a drink with impunity and not want to be excessive about it, because I'm not filling anything no more. I'm not filling voids. I'm not trying to, self-medicate or nothing like that. I'm enjoying a barbecue. I'm doing normal life things,
We've obviously been chatting for quite some time now. This has been great. But I guess I would like to, how I'd like to wrap this up is, today, you're obviously working at Reverent. That's how I met you.
Yep.
What's Brandon's future hold? What's your game plan? Do you have I
have big aspirations.
Let's hear him, bro.
There's a lot of things that I'd like. Now, let's say 5 years in tattooing, I've witnessed and been able to visually see where this can go. I've watched some people succeed at the highest level because of it, and I think that's all I want for myself. I want to be in a very comfortable place, and I know that tattooing could take me there for the simple fact that like I have a job that I enjoy. You know, not many people enjoy their jobs and stuff like that. I get up and come to work like so stoked that I get to do what I do, you know, and know that probably right there is enough motivation to like keep me working harder at it. And with tattooing, it's like, it's repetition. The more you do it, the better you get. And so like, I don't know what the future necessarily has to hold in it, but I'm really fucking excited to see what it has, you know, to see what I've seen other people go through. Yeah, I'm super excited. I did my first convention not too long ago. That was a cool like eye opener to see like other tattooers across the world and like be able to, you know, experience that on a much bigger scale than just, you know, tattooing out of my home or even out of a shop.
Brandon, thank you so much, bro, for your time, bro. I know you got to drive to California from here, bro.
Yeah,
we didn't get there tomorrow.
We didn't mean to delay your ride here so long.
This has been awesome.
This has been awesome. So,
dude, no. Bro, into this camera, bro. If there's one last thing you want to, if you have any other beautiful message to send to somebody, probably going through some shit, or you know, maybe that's at where you've been. You know, give them some game.
Just keep asking questions. Don't give up. If you're struggling, just know that there's a better way to live out there, and people out there have answers for sure.
Yeah.
Keep asking. Find people, somebody that is attractive in the way that's what you want, you know, and follow their footsteps. Like, you know, maybe not always to a perfect T and stuff like that, but you can really, you know, lead by example and, you know, follow someone's actions and, you know, make it happen for yourself.
Yeah.
So just keep trying.
There it is, dude.
Love it.
Thank you so much, bro. Yo, you're the fucking best.
Yes, yes, sir. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.